My children, in exactly 11 days, on December 31st, 2025, the most decisive countdown this generation has ever faced will begin. A silent milestone that separates before and after, because the Virgin Mary has just broken a profound silence with a warning of such overwhelming force that it united the visionaries of Medjugorje, Fatima, and Garabandal in constant vigil. And now I ask you with all the seriousness of heaven, are you truly prepared for what will be revealed after the winter solstice? Because what will be revealed in the coming moments may signify the invisible line between the protection and the spiritual ruin of your family. Beloved children of Mary, brothers and sisters in Christ, I speak now with a soul seized by an urgency that does not come from men, but from on high, for I carry a message that the Blessed Virgin poured out upon humanity, asleep amidst motherly tears and the fire of mercy. A message that admits no delays or distractions. Listen with your hearts open, because this is no longer content about prophecies. It is an immediate spiritual warning sent directly from heaven. The Mother of God spoke clearly about the last 3 months of 2025, and what she revealed surpasses any warning made in the last 2,000 years of Christian history. If you remain until the end of this sacred message, you will not only understand the gravity of what is approaching, but you will also receive a special promise of protection granted by the Virgin Mary herself to those who hear, believe, and act. A protection that manifests as an invisible shield enveloping your home, your loved ones, and your soul. But first, let me ask a question that may define your eternal destiny. Have you noticed the strange signs that have been intensifying since August 15, 2025? The skies tinged red in Lisbon, the 47 earthquakes recorded in just 1 week in Mexico, the simultaneous reports of Marian apparitions in Argentina, Colombia, and Venezuela. These are not isolated events or statistical coincidences. They are announced signs. Blessed be the Blessed Virgin Mary, Mother of God and our Mother, who in her infinite compassion never abandons us. Your children in the darkest hour, glory to Jesus Christ, King of the universe, who allows his most holy mother to come as a messenger of warning and hope. If your heart already feels the weight of this moment, show it right now with a simple like, because it is not an empty gesture. It is your first response to the call of heaven. Each like lights a light that helps this message reach another soul that needs to awaken before it's too late. The revelation I share now was entrusted to 3 visionaries on 3 different continents, all on the same date, September 3rd, 2025. And no, it is not by chance that you are hearing this now. The Virgin Mary was chosen to be the bearer of this last warning. But what is happening in the world that causes her to manifest with such urgency? There is something that the global media is deliberately hiding. On August 27, 2025, exactly 7 days before these revelations, astronomical observatories in Chile, Hawaii, and Spain detected a solar anomaly never before recorded, a solar flare of class X47.3. The most intense event in history, which according to scientific calculations should impact the Earth's magnetic field precisely between December 25th and 31st, 2025, and this, according to the Virgin Mary, is only the beginning of what she called the Great Tribulation of the end of the year. Before revealing the exact content of the Marian message, it is necessary to understand the prophetic convergence that is underway, because what is approaching is not just a natural disaster or a common political crisis. It is the simultaneous fulfillment of 7 distinct Marian prophecies converging at a single point in history. Observe the clear signs. The first is the invisible war. While the world remains distracted, 14 nations have already activated secret military protocols. Underground bases in Colorado, the Ural Mountains, and the Swiss Alps are being supplied with provisions for an entire decade. Why? What do they know that the people don't? The Virgin Mary revealed everything. The second sign is the accelerated apostasy. In the last 90 days, 4,700 churches have closed their doors. In Europe and Latin America, mass attendance has plummeted by 67% since January, and there is something even more alarming. Unofficial sources confirm that the Vatican is preparing for an event of biblical proportions before the end of the year. The third sign is phenomena that defy any rational explanation. And now I share something that causes fear even in the most steadfast of faith. On September 1st at 3 in the morning, while praying the rosary, Sister Lucia Maria, a contemplative nun from Quito, Ecuador, saw the beads of her rosary begin to bleed. It was not symbolism, it was not imagination. Laboratory tests confirmed that the blood was human type AB positive, and listen carefully to these words that spring from my maternal heart. Heaven inclines towards you not to spread terror, nor to confuse your souls, but to awaken sleeping consciences. This revelation that now reaches you speaks of a short time, 11 days of preparation, not as a sentence, but as mercy. When heaven warns, it is because there is still time. When heaven calls, it is because there is still a way back. My children, how many of you have lived as if God were distant, as if he no longer saw, did not hear, did not care? Humanity has distanced itself so much from the Father that many no longer recognize his voice. Sin has ceased to cause pain in the conscience and has come to be treated as something normal, acceptable, even desirable. Hearts have hardened, homes have become cold, and true love has been replaced by pride, selfishness, and indifference. I do not come to accuse you, but to reveal the truth. When man distances himself from God, he opens space for disorder, confusion, and suffering. Heaven does not wish to punish, but to intervene so that something worse does not happen. Just as a mother holds her child before he falls into an abyss, so heaven now calls you with firmness and love. These days given to you are not ordinary days. They are days of return, of inner silence, of sincere repentance. Do not look only at the sins of the world, but at your own heart. How many choices have distanced you from God? How many times have you ignored the signs, the warnings, the gentle calls he has given you along the way? Yet, my children, God never tires of waiting for you. The Father sees a wounded, confused humanity, lost in its own desires. That is why heaven moves, not out of anger, but out of love, not out of condemnation, but out of salvation. These 11 days are an invitation to vigilance, to true conversion, to a change of life. Words are not enough, empty promises are not enough. Decision, humility, and courage are needed to abandon that which separates you from God. My children, strengthen your faith, take care of your homes, purify your thoughts and attitudes. Where there is hatred, choose forgiveness. Where there is falsehood, choose truth. Where there is sin, choose light. Heaven awaits a small step from you to pour out great graces. Do not harden your hearts. The time to come will demand firm souls, rooted in God, capable of standing firm even when everything seems confusing. I accompany you as a mother, I intercede for you, and I remind you, mercy is still open, but it cannot be ignored. My beloved children, remain with me in these words and let them slowly descend to the deepest part of your hearts. Heaven speaks to you because it still loves you, because it still believes in every soul, even those lost on the darkest paths. These 11 days granted to you should not be seen as a burden, but as a rare grace, as a door that remains open when everything could already be closed. I tell you, my children, the world runs, shouts, gets distracted, but the human soul is tired. Many try to fill the void with fleeting things, with pleasures that last little, with words that do not heal. Humanity has distanced itself from God not overnight, but step by step, choice after choice, until many no longer know who they are, nor where they are going. Sin ceased to be perceived as a wound and began to be treated as freedom, but this did not bring peace, it brought confusion. Heaven observes everything in patient silence. God is not indifferent to the suffering of his children. He sees divided homes, wounded hearts, young people without direction, families without dialogue, souls that have lost hope. When the Father allows a revelation to come to light, it is not to spread panic, but to awaken, to halt the fall, to call back those who can still return. My children, how many of you live a double life? Outwardly beautiful words, inwardly choices that wound your own soul? How many know what is right, but continue to postpone change? The time given to you now is a time of truth, not of masks, not of justifications, but of sincerely looking within yourselves and recognizing where you have strayed from God. Do not think that heaven demands immediate perfection. God asks for a contrite heart, a true willingness to change. He knows your weaknesses, but he also knows the strength he has placed within each of you. What is lacking is not ability, but decision. What is lacking is not God's love, but the openness of the soul to receive it. These days are a call to inner vigilance. Observe your words, for many have wounded more than healed. Observe your attitudes, for many have distanced instead of drawing closer. Observe your thoughts, for it is in them that both light and darkness are born. Do not wait for the world to change before you change. Transformation begins in the silence of the heart. My children, the time to come will demand firm souls, not agitated ones. Confident, not desperate. Humble, not proud. He who anchors himself in God will not be shaken, even when everything around seems uncertain. That is why heaven insists, return now while there is still clarity, while there is still choice. I tell you with a mother's love, do not play with the time given to you. Each day is an opportunity to repair, to forgive, to ask for forgiveness, to begin again. Evil grows when good is silent, when good souls become complacent, when faith becomes merely habit and no longer life. Take care of your homes, for they are the first spiritual battlefield. Where there is inner prayer, even silent prayer, darkness does not remain. Where there is humility, evil loses strength. Where there is true love, God is present. Do not allow haste, pride, or indifference to steal what is most precious, your soul. Heaven intervenes because it sees beyond the present. It sees consequences that you do not yet see. It sees pain that can be avoided if there is sincere conversion. Therefore, this warning is also a gesture of profound mercy. God prefers to correct now rather than allow his children to be lost later. My children, do not feel alone. I walk with you. I intercede. I accompany. I sustain those who decide to return. But remember, the door of grace opens from within. Heaven calls but respects your freedom. Listen with an open heart to what I, as a mother, tell you in this time. Before all else what is revealed, I do not ask you for despair or anxiety, but for a firm spiritual life. When the world is in turmoil and shadows try to approach, the soul that remains united to God finds safe refuge. Therefore I tell you, pray, my children, not as one who fulfills an obligation, but as one who breathes, as one who sustains oneself in the presence of the Father. Prayer strengthens where human words no longer reach. It closes invisible doors through which evil tries to enter, heals wounds that time could not heal, and restores peace to weary homes. A home that prays is not a perfect home, but it is a protected home. It is a home where God finds space to act, even amidst difficulties. Strengthen your homes with the sacraments, for they are living sources of grace. Many have distanced themselves from them and, without realizing it, have weakened spiritually. The sacraments are not empty rituals. They are real encounters with God's love, protection, sustenance, and light for the journey. A home that values sacramental life becomes a place where evil does not easily take root. I ask you, my children, to consecrate your homes to God with simplicity and faith. Place holy water in the four corners of your house, not as a superstitious gesture, but as a sign of trust and surrender. May each corner be marked by the presence of God. May each wall be a witness to your faith. May each room be enveloped by divine grace. Where holy water is placed with faith, there it is remembered that that home belongs to God. Do this consciously, with respect, with your hearts turned towards heaven. While the world is distracted, you watch. While many distance themselves, you draw closer. Evil fears homes that pray, fears united families, fears souls that place themselves under God's protection. Do not wait for danger to become visible to seek protection. True care begins earlier, in silence, obedience, and faith. My children, teach your homes to be places of peace. Avoid unnecessary arguments, harsh words, and harbored resentments. Where there is forgiveness, God remains. Where there is humility, evil loses its power. Where there is lived faith, light spreads. I walk with you and intercede for every family that chooses to trust. Do not despise small gestures made with love, for they are what build strong spiritual walls. Pray, strengthen your homes, seek the sacraments, and consecrate your house to God. My beloved children, remain attentive and recollected. For these words are born from the care of a mother who watches over you day and night. I do not speak to you to generate unrest, but to teach you to remain standing when times become confusing. The world is in turmoil because many homes have ceased to be places of God. When prayer weakens within the home, the soul also weakens within. Therefore I insist, with tenderness and firmness, pray, my children. Make prayer the invisible foundation of your daily life. Pray when you wake up and when you retire. Pray in the silence of your heart. Pray even when you cannot find words. Sincere prayer does not depend on long speeches, but on a heart that turns to God with humility. Where there is prayer, even simple prayer, heaven finds space to act. Where there is no prayer, the heart becomes vulnerable and easily gets lost. Strengthen your homes with the sacraments, for many have forgotten the strength that springs from them. The sacraments are remedies for the soul. They are nourishment for faith. They are protection against that which you do not see, but which acts silently. When you turn away from them, it is not God who turns away from you, it is you who walk without a shield. Return with confidence, without fear, without shame. The Father always receives those who decide to return. My children, do not treat faith as something secondary, reserved only for difficult times. Faith needs to be lived out daily within the home, in small actions, in silent choices. A spiritually strengthened home is not one where there are never problems, but one where God is invited to remain even amidst struggles. I also ask you to consecrate your homes, marking them with signs of faith. Place holy water in the four corners of your house, with respect and spiritual awareness. This gesture, done with faith, reminds you that that home belongs to God and that His presence is desired there. It is not the object itself that protects, but the living faith that accompanies it. When this gesture is done with confidence, it becomes a silent cry to heaven. Do this in peace, without haste, without fear. As you go through every corner of your house, entrust your worries, your families, your children, your relationships to God. May each room be a space of rest and not of conflict. May each living room be a place of dialogue and not of division. May each door be a sign of welcome and not of closed hearts. My children, also be vigilant about what you allow into your homes. Words, images, habits, attitudes. Often evil does not enter with violence, but with distraction. It takes advantage of indifference, spiritual weariness, lack of vigilance. An attentive home, however, does not allow itself to be dominated by fear, but remains firm in the light. Cultivate peace within your home. Where there are constant shouts, the soul is disturbed. Where there is pride, grace weakens. Where there is forgiveness, God acts freely. Learn to ask for forgiveness and to forgive. Learn to be silent before hurting. Learn to choose love even when it is difficult. These simple gestures build a spiritual protection stronger than you imagine. My children, the time you live in calls for homes strengthened not only outwardly but inwardly. The world may change, circumstances may become uncertain, but he who places God at the center of his home will not be abandoned. Heaven leans with special care over families who choose to trust, even without understanding everything. I accompany you as an attentive mother. I intercede for every family that chooses to pray, for every home that opens itself to grace, for every heart that chooses light instead of darkness. Do not be discouraged. Small gestures made with faith produce great fruits in due time. I speak not only of visible dangers, but of the salvation of the soul, of inner peace, of protection that no human power can offer. Many seek security in fleeting things, in empty promises, in forces that do not sustain. But only my Son is the sure path, the truth that does not deceive, and the life that does not fade. I have revealed these things to you not to confuse you, nor to leave you uneasy, but so that you may be strong. The strength that comes from God is not made of hardness, but of firm faith. It is not born of pride, but of trust. It does not grow in fear, but in surrender. When a family places itself in the hands of Jesus, even amidst storms, it does not get lost. My children, the world tries to convince you that you can walk alone, that you don't need God, that everything can be resolved with your own strength. But I tell you, as a mother who knows the human heart, far from God, the soul grows weary, confused, and weak. Only in Jesus does the heart find rest, direction, and meaning. That is why I call you to conversion. Not a conversion of words alone, but of life. Conversion is changing course, recognizing your mistakes, abandoning what separates you from God and choosing the light again. Conversion is allowing Jesus to enter your homes, your decisions, your relationships, your most intimate thoughts. Do not postpone this call, my children. Many think there will always be time, but the heart that postpones hardens without realizing it. Today heaven calls you. Today grace is offered. Today mercy reaches you. Every step taken towards Jesus strengthens not only your life, but also the lives of those who walk with you. Be strong not through human resistance, but through living faith. Teach your families to trust in Jesus not only with words, but with example. A home that turns to Him becomes light in the darkness, shelter in the confusion, hope where many have given up. I accompany you as a mother and always lead you to my Son. Everything I tell you has a single purpose: to lead you to Jesus, for in Him is salvation, protection, and true life. Seek conversion with sincerity, remain firm in faith, and you will not be confounded. My beloved children, engrave deeply in your souls this truth that does not change with time or circumstances. Only Jesus can save your life and the life of your family. There is no other name that heals the wounded soul, that lifts the fallen, that restores meaning to the weary heart. Many seek salvation in easy paths, in human promises, in forces that seem great in the eyes of the world, but which crumble before true pain. Only my Son remains when all else fails. I speak to you as a mother who knows danger, but also knows hope. When I tell you these things, it is not to frighten you, but to strengthen you. The time in which you live demands mature faith, not superficial faith. It demands decision, not indecision. It demands true conversion, not religious appearance. Heaven warns you because it loves you and because there is still time to choose the path of life. My children, how many homes are weakened because Jesus has been set aside? How many families live united only by routine, but spiritually distant? How many hearts are empty because they have strayed from the source of life? When Jesus ceases to be the center, other things take His place. Pride, selfishness, indifference, sin, and what seems small with time becomes too heavy to bear. I have revealed these truths to you so that you may not be weak, so that you may not walk spiritually asleep while the world is lost. The strength that heaven desires to give you is born from sincere conversion. To convert is to turn your heart to God, to recognize that man cannot sustain himself alone, to allow Jesus to govern one's own life. Do not think that conversion is only for those who have completely strayed. Conversion is a daily calling. It is choosing Jesus even when it is difficult. It is renouncing the sin that insists on remaining. It is changing habits, thoughts, words, and attitudes that wound the soul. It is learning to say no to what distances you from God and yes to what brings you closer to Him. To approach Him with humility. He does not accuse, He heals. He does not condemn, He transforms. When a family kneels before Jesus, even in silence, heaven moves. Be strong, but not with the strength of the world. Be strong in faith, in perseverance, in obedience to God's will. Teach your children not only with words, but with the example of a life that seeks Jesus. A home that chooses Jesus as its foundation can face storms without being destroyed. The world will tell you that you don't need to change, that everything is relative, that sin has no consequences. But I tell you, as a mother who watches over you, far from Jesus, the soul sickens. Far from Jesus, hope fades. Far from Jesus, the heart is lost. That is why I call you, insistently and lovingly, to conversion. Do not harden your hearts. Do not postpone change. Do not wait for greater signs to believe. The greatest sign has already been given to you. Jesus is alive, present, and ready to save. He who turns to Him will not be abandoned, even if everything around seems to crumble. My children, remain steadfast. Choose Jesus every day. Seek conversion with sincerity. Strengthen your faith. Protect your families by placing my Son at the center of everything. I always lead you to Him, because only in him is true life, salvation that does not pass away, and the peace that the world cannot give.